sigh of relief there because Hikaru was worse, but he also had a shot with Queen F4, and Magnus down in time trouble saying, my mouse speed is there, I can hang with Hikaru Nakamura, and it's not just a hoodie hanging on my head. So we see that it's 1-1, great defensive both, and they are just getting started done, and still 68.5 minutes remaining in the longest time.
Neither of the players able to land a punch in the first two games. Magnus came oh so close in that game. It was an exquisite positional effort. He outplayed Hikaru in his Pet King's Indian, but at the end of the day, Robert, if you think about Hikaru's greatest strength, what does he have to harness in order to try to knock the world champion out of the SCC and claim the title for himself? It's his time scrambling ability. I think that is Hikaru's biggest objective edge over Magnus. When Hikaru is in top form, his time scrambling is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really tough to match up with Magnus Carlsen, but Hikaru Nakamura proving he's capable of doing just that. We're in our third game of the match. We see that we had a Queen's Gambit accepted. So what's the dynamic right now? White has an extra pawn in the center, e3 and d4, versus just a single pawn e6. White is castle, the Black King is in the center. But what does Black have going for him? No actual targets, no weakness in the position. Well, Tanya, Magnus is thinking. He's spending a lot of time here. Is he unfamiliar with this setup?
I'm sure he's had this before in OTB chess. I think what he's really trying to decide is whether to push b5. And I'm going to echo a point you made in an earlier broadcast in a galaxy far, far away. If you play b5 prematurely and the bishop drops back, White has this idea of pushing a2, a4 and carving out a very nice c4 square for his knight. So you actually see Magnus delaying the move b5, and you might even see him playing the more modest b6.
Right, a5 is an idea for Black, and that's why White plays a4 to stop it, but it gives them a key square. So let's see what Hikaru Nakamura has in mind. He's also being a bit slow, deliberate here, taking his time, longest time control. He's used to winning with 5 seconds on the clock. When he starts with 5 minutes, well, that's quite a lot of time. He chooses a4. So what this was an approach. Does he want to give up control of b4? The answer happens to be yes, but he is taking squares away from Black on side.
It's not enough just to see, oh, I weakened a square. How accessible is that square? It's not that easy for Black to get a knight to b4, and even if he does, it's not the end of the world for White. A knight on b4 looks pretty, but it's not really impacting the course of the game. So I like the decision to prevent b5. I think White's got a tiny bully here. Magnus has to be very careful about the d4, d5 pawn break, which is especially strong if you play b6. Okay, Magnus takes on d4, and we get a new pawn structure.
I think he can play the move knight to e5. The bishop on c8 wants to get out. The move b6 would be a blunder because it gives White the c6 square. So that's why knight e5 with tempo against the bishop. Right, bishop d7. And Danya, I feel like these positions... its diagonal to say the square e7 or d8 as it just played. If rook h4, you have this move pawn h6, but the reason why you have it is the same exact idea. Where the king slides up at the end to pass pawn doesn't become a queen.
I forgot that bishop actually moved away from d8 for a second, got excited there. Rook h4, h6 is a tactical mechanism, otherwise black would lose that corner pawn. But I always get concerned, Robert. Hello, Robin, my new commentator. When you're hanging on the basis of a tactical mechanism like this, because it's very easy to forget about it. And the moment you move the bishop, that rook is flying. Both sides now, down under a minute.
Knight b6 played, rook h4 is still met by pawn to h6. It might be a worthy sacrifice at some point.
At this point, yeah.
Magnus, if he just isn't looking out for it, it may hit him and he's going to regret it. But now Hikaru down to 18, 17, 16 seconds now.
He is, and definitely thinking about rook h4, but he's got to make a decision. He drops back to c2, and we are going to get a rook trade.
e7 to c6 to c5 to b4, and watch out for that b3 pawn. I was saying, with liquidation, it shouldn't be much of an issue, but that black king sprints out very quickly.
And a pro trying to prevent the knight from accessing the e5 square. On the other hand, this forces black's king in the opposite direction it wants to go. I think Magnus is saying, hey, knight, why don't you attack the queenside pawns? My king is going to stay in the center to defend the kingside pawns. It looks pretty even, but I think Magnus is the one pushing here.
He is. The king can go e6 to d5, you win king of the hill, but you don't win the game. But at least you have some initiative. The h4 pawn cemented on dark square. If f5 is played, the h4 pawn is loose, but f5, it gets e5. That pawn would be hanging. That's a king e6, but knight c5 check. You take the king back and then play knight d3, so you're not going to have to face f5.
And that's precisely what he's going to do. Hikaru obviously fine with the repetition, and Magnus' strategy has been to play with an abundance of caution in these time scrambles. Is he going to accede to the repetition once again? Hikaru's going to be the one to play.
Wow, knight
oh
c4,
my gosh.
kicking the knight from d6, and if you swap knight to c4, b7 and a6 are loose, and this is what I was saying.
1 second.
Bishop, and then the light square pawns, the king's coming over, knight takes b7.
Magnus is starting to lose control. Can he trap this knight though? Hikaru can save it with his pawn, c5 and c6. He drives the pawn and he cuts off the king.
Yeah, c6, the king cannot get in there. Bishop b6, he needs to go king e6.
Make a move!
The king can't get to the pawn.
Oh, he's gonna flag! He's gonna flag!
He lost
just
his
did.